Hi again. Welcome to the Hi Again podcast. I'm Dope, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Lettuce,
Hey.
and Svempa.
What's up?
Today we have a very special guest, one of the mods from r/weed back in the days, my good friend Haunted Castle. Welcome.
Hello.
All right, so the topic for today is legal marijuana, or so to speak. From what I understand, you recently got your medical marijuana card, correct?
Yes.
Do you mind sharing a bit how the process was and how long it took you and stuff?
I think partially I would like to say first. First I'm a little high, so apologies if my thoughts are out of order, but the process is going to be different based on where you're at. So what my experience may not 100% be the same for other states, but this is how it seems to be in the earlier stages of legalization for every state. So that's a good thing to know.
Okay, cool.
But for me, the one thing that I think everyone needs to know before they try to go in is you have to have a diagnosis from a doctor. Like a normal doctor or a psychiatrist, something that says before that you have a condition, pretty much any conditions that are pain related, anything like considered more severe or anxiety related are all are gonna go through.
Okay.
But once you have that, if you go for me the process took probably a little bit less than a month total. I had the appointment in the beginning of January with my doctor through a specified like medical marijuana doctor service, because you have to have a doctor that's specified in it. I went, saw him, the appointment took like 30 minutes, partially because he just wanted to go over a couple things in my history, which he said he normally does, just because for the medical marijuana cases, they like reading into it just to make sure that they're not that there's nothing weird with your history, I guess.
Like what?
But, well, I feel that nobody said anything about it yet, but there are people who in this state where it just got appealed, where you can't have guns and medical marijuana. So they, as far as I was aware, they said they didn't, but it was brought up with a couple people that, oh, well, I heard you had a conceal and carry permit, and that was like, they said it took them a little bit longer to get approved after that got brought up, which...
Okay. Do you think that's because of they don't want you to off yourself while you're high, or like fumble with the gun and shoot someone else?
I don't think it's that. I think it's just right now with how things are, I think people aren't understanding that marijuana actually is a medicine that helps you, and there's still the stigma, at least, which I'm not sure if the stigma was everywhere, but the stigma in America was that if you smoked weed, you wanted to go and like kill people and like burn down buildings and stuff.
Yikes.
So, yeah, like there was a really bad fear of weed here, even in my childhood. Like, even I, for a really long time, was like, oh my god, if I smoke weed, I'm gonna start, like, seeing demons and burning buildings down. Obviously was wrong.
I was like that too, I'll admit. I was like that too.
Yeah, same. So
My
I heard
mom
you have
was
a
like
lighter
that,
at
actually.
home.
Yeah. Alright, so you saw a doctor, and then they recommended marijuana for your treatment, or they did just give a diagnosis and then you decided that marijuana was going to be right for you? Or
I I already had a diagnosis before, and from from recreational legal use in other states where it was legal, I realized that it helped a lot better than all of these pills I was taking that just gave me nightmares, and if I forgot them, then it was headaches and it was a nightmare. So after I went, my doctor actually, the doctor I got my diagnosis from actually did try to stop me from getting marijuana. I have since stopped seeing them. They tried to say it was going to make me like have nightmares all the time and all this stuff, so yeah, for real. I got my diagnosis. I got prescriptions that were considered that were correct for what I was going to need, but I didn't take them. I just needed the actual prescription paper. And whenever I brought that into the medical marijuana doctor, I showed him like, hey, I have a prescription for this, which is considered like severe, gotta watch it substance, and I don't feel comfortable taking that. And he was like, he obviously asked, well, do you smoke already? I told him, yeah, I do. It helps a lot better. And he was like, well, then if that's the case, I'm sure you already know about this stuff, so...
That's cool. That seems like he was very understanding then.
He told me what all the discounts were.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had marijuana doctors. Like, did he wear sandals, or...
No, but okay, I got concerned because like I get scared around meeting guys that I don't know, and I had not met him, so I was really nervous. I'm 100% sure he was high. Like he came out, looked, there was me in the office and then some other lady, and he just stared at both of us and then was like, and the other lady was like, I was here first, and he was like, oh, yeah, come in the back with me.
Come in the back with me. Nah, jokes aside.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, if I had a business card, I definitely would want it to say weed doctor. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a longer, more scientific name for it, but they're just gonna be my weed doctor, because that's
I'd make
the
my
easiest thing
expert.
to say.
I'd make my card rollable. That'd be fucking...
Oh my god!
Actually,
yeah, you
I've seen
shave
some people
layers
do
off.
that.
Yeah, I saw like a dispensary handing out business cards, which you can turn into roaches.
Yeah,
Damn,
no,
that's
like
cool.
filters, or...
Yeah, filters.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Alright, so how long have you had your marijuana license now?
How? Let me look at the
Well, just
calendar.
roundabout, about.
About 3 weeks.
Okay, so you've gotten to get used to the whole dispensary kind of thing, or is it still new?
Well, I've only gone to one. Well, I've been to two dispensaries. I have only bought from one,
Okay.
but I feel like the issue right now is there's a really long wait time for medical patients because of the process they have to go through of like clarifying that you're a patient and obviously making sure they're not getting robbed or anything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But whenever I went without placing an order online before, it took us 3 hours before I actually got in there to buy anything, and
Holy
by that
shit.
point I was not high anymore and was super anxious.
But like,
Yeah, I
with,
bet.
like, cause you've been like, what do you call it, an illegal smoker for a good while, right?
Probably a little over, almost 2 years.
Yeah, and like, when you finally got into the dispensary, how did it feel like? Because I feel like the first time I'm gonna walk into one of those, it's gonna be like walking into like the chocolate factory, you know? I like, how do you not like giddy at that? Because I would totally be fucking, you know. How
It was the first time it was difficult because I went in whenever I did not have a card yet and went in with my dad for him getting he's a medical patient and he was getting stuff, and they allow a visitor to come in with you. So I had to not act like, oh my gosh, this is super awesome. But part of it here is they really don't have any of the weed out where you can see it, so it doesn't feel like it's there.
Okay.
Which I know is different in Colorado. I'm gonna like the ones I went to in Colorado, I did not get to see that, but I know some of the other ones are, which I'm gonna figure that out in a couple months.
So it's
Speaking
almost
of
like
which,
a
if
pharmacy.
you have a medical card, sorry, go ahead, Solid.
Oh no, so it's kind of like a pharmacy, like with the kind of layout.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So if you have a medical card in your state, does that medical card work in other states too?
It depends on the state.
Okay. So
Mine does not work in Colorado. However, if you do the right thing and are nice to the people at the dispensaries, they are more likely to help you out if you do mention that you have a medical card with that little extra discount and tax decrease.
I mean, I guess in states where recreational use is allowed, it doesn't really matter anyway, but like
it's helpful a lot in the price though, because the difference between recreational and legal weed in states where recreational weed is legal, they do have significantly different tax rates. Whereas if you buy recreational, I think it was about 15%. You have to pay 15% more for taxes on it. And if you buy with a medical card, it's only like, I think 3 or 4%.
Cool. So, what's the biggest difference that you've noticed since you became legal, like a patient?
I can buy shatter, which is pretty cool. And right now we don't have bud completely legal, but it's nice to see the options that they have, because they do have when you go into the dispensaries, it's called like a weed bar, and it's one nug of each strain that they carry, so you can look at it and see what it looks like, and it's just in a jar.
Cool. Okay.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
May I ask a question? Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
But I've heard of sorry, I have been a bit sick. I've heard of people going into a waiting room and then getting the doctor on a laptop. The doctor's high as fuck, and they ask, "What is wrong with you?" They say, and you say, "What's wrong with you?" And then, all right. And then a few days later, you get your medical card. There was none of that. It was just very official and stuff.
Well, I wouldn't say it was official. It was a little bit more serious than that, just because of the processing time of the state. They do have to check to make sure you are a resident of that state, and then make sure you are who you say you are, and then before they can process your payment, which is really what takes so long in getting the card after the appointment.
Okay.
But you do... I'm sure there are a few doctors that do things online. They probably just cost a little bit more, because there are some traveling doctors who do go to multiple states who they charge more, but their prescriptions normally will last you longer, and they'll renew over the phone.
Damn, over the phone too.
Oh, they have delivery here.
So
you can get it to the door?
Yeah, I can get it delivered to my house.
That's fucking next level.
Oh my god.
I'm planning on doing that one of these whenever they come out with closer to 4th of July discounts, because those are normally weirdly high discounts. Oh wait, no, 420 is before that. I'll save them for then.
Hell yeah. So I'm kind of wondering, were there, okay, it's this kind of technical, but were there any really weird taxes on it. Because I get the tax, but were there any like amounts of money you had to pay that were seemingly just stupid? Like, for example, if you wanna if you wanna get a like a concealed carry or a suppressor for a gun in the U.S., you have to pay a crazy high like tax stamp. Are there any like like you have to pay anything to get the card, or is it just like bills with the visits and shit like that?
You do have to pay the state $75 every year for it, which I think is kind of dumb. Whenever you are on top of the one, for me, it's 170 every 7 months.
Hmm.
Damn, that's pretty high, isn't it?
170 for 7 months, though, for the doctor isn't that bad because you can get it refilled as much as you want, and you get 14,000 milligrams
Oh, okay.
of THC.
Yeah, that'll last you a bit.
Yeah, and it gets renewed as many times as you need it to during those every 70 days.
And it doesn't increase in price no matter how many times you refill it, or?
Nope.
That's cool.
So you're kind of like, I would say you're broken in, but did you notice like a strength difference from the legal and the illegal? Because the illegal, at least if you have a pretty shit dealer, you won't know what strain you get, how strong it is, so on and so forth. Did you notice like the legal weed was unexpectedly strong or weak, or what? How was it?
I wouldn't say it was unexpectedly strong. It's better than I would think for something that is like crammed into a ceramic container. But it definitely smells a lot better, and it's a lot more reassuring knowing exactly how much THC is in each thing that you get and what strain it actually is, because one of the companies over here, actually, their flower that they just released, which is still in the pods, is over 1,000 milligrams of THC for 3.5 grams of flower, which I feel like that would last you a while unless you smoke a lot of joints.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's insane. Like I normally just bought street weed before, but I recently got like a new dealer, and I remember rolling a joint and just getting shot in the face by how strong it was. Like it was an insane difference for me at least. But yeah, it's pretty
For
insane
me,
how you can jump like that.
yeah, I've had the same dealer forever, so for me, I'm kind of used to it. But one thing that I miss is that when you said you can see exactly how much THC or CBD is in the product you buy, for me, it's like I can know the strain because my plug knows it, but then I obviously have to go on Leafly and check, like, and it says I can only get ranges. I can never get exact, and that'd be
Yeah.
pretty cool.
One thing that I have noticed is could just be the ones I'm buying, but the bud I've been buying doesn't have any CBD in it. I haven't been buying ratio though, or the specifically CBD bud.
Okay.
Yeah, I've read about that. Certain places only legalize weed which is low in THC and high in CBD.
Yeah, I have a friend in France, and they have dispensaries there that only sell CBD nugs, like CBD flower, with like minimal amount of THC, and they're allowed to sell it there. So that's pretty cool.
Damn.
That
Yeah,
would
no.
feel weird.
Yeah.
Technically, if you smoke enough of it, you would get high.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. CBD.
I mean, I've been vaping
legal.
CBD.
Yeah. Like it's surprisingly it's legal in surprisingly many countries. I mean, for example, my country is pretty conservative, but it's pretty hard, but you can technically get a prescription for CBD where I live, which I was super surprised over.
Yeah. I think it kind of just shows that I mean, the THC has almost equal as many health benefits as CBD, but since you don't get high, it's more allowed, and it just shows the nature of the lawmakers, in my opinion. It's just, alrighty, I see.
Yeah, like the problem with lawmaking for weed right now is that you know, there's not a lot of research. There is research, but there isn't enough, right? So what the lawmakers do is that they, you know, take the research that there is, and then they apply their stigma, you know, which normally is negative. Like it's pretty insane. Like
Yeah.
yeah, I've dealt with like officials kind of that, you know, talk a lot about how weed is fucking dangerous, and they cite studies, and you know, when you do it back, they just say, "Oh, this is it's pretty stupid." I hate argumenting with people against it. You know, I still do. But
Yeah.
it's insane
I agree.
how you know, how with the flow they are. They just kind of like know you. It's
Yeah. And like when you point out the fact that CBD literally stops cancer growth and THC has the potential to actually kill the cancer cells, and they're like not even recognizing the fact that it's medicine. It has way more health benefits than cons. It's just good for the population if they indulge in a little bit of devil's lettuce every Saturday night. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Just
yeah. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
Give
it's
it the
it's
time to
subjective
Eagle
too.
Bush.
It's totally subjective, I think. But what I think we need to stop is the stigma towards, you know, weed, because like there's no stigma towards alcohol. Parents drink alcohol, like some parents drink it daily, and I don't see why why you can't do it in the comfort of your own home. Like I kind of get you know, smoking weed in the park in front of a bunch of kids, but like, you know,
yeah,
alcohol
but
is
people drink
banned
alcohol
in
in front of
public.
their kids.
Yeah, no, but like
Well,
alcohol is banned in most public places in most countries. Like
Yeah.
I feel like
messed up that people have like the wine cups that are like mommy's juice,
yeah,
and that's how alcohol is shown.
yeah,
Whenever weed, on the other hand, is seen so horribly.
yeah. You know,
Yeah.
it's accepted in society when people brag about being borderline alcoholics. It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
We have the
Yeah.
wine mom, the beer dad, and I'm the weed cousin.
Yeah. Yeah, no. But okay, so we tell a lot of stories on this podcast. You know, and we were just wondering if you had any good stories with like legal weed or just weed in general.
Is anyone here like does talking about throwing up make you sick?
Nah, it's all good.
Not really, no.
Okay, then I have a very hilarious story about the first time I went and bought legal weed. I went. My dad had gone right before me and had bought shatter, and I went after and bought 9-pound hammer, and it's a strain called Gorilla Grapes, and had brought it over to my dad's and made a bowl with both of those in it. Whatever strain he had, I think it was Colombian Gold. And then I just, for some reason, thought, I'm gonna put a little bit of this shatter on top too. And his rig is probably only about 4 or 5 inches tall. I had about half the bowl left whenever he tapped out and went, "Here, you finish it for me." I went, "Okay," and he went, "I bet you can't finish it in one hit." I'm very competitive whenever it comes to smoking weed with my family, so I was like, fuck yeah, I can finish this. I finished it, immediately started puking, and my dad got mad at me because I was throwing up on the patio, and he went, "Why are you puking on the patio? Go throw up in the pool," and made me fucking go and throw up in the pool, and then after gave me some water and went, "You want to hit off my dab pin?" I was like, okay. Like,
Jesus Christ.
was 100% worth the puking, I would say.
Yeah, that's
And
insane.
for the EU boys, 5 inches is 12 0.7 centimeters. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hitting my first bong. It was a pretty big bong, right? So it was the first time, and I did it with herb or flour, which is not what I usually do. So it was way rougher than I was used to. And I might have told this story before, but I'm gonna make it short. I basically coughed smoke into my stomach. I don't even know how that's possible because it's like, it just made a U-turn. And I remember just sitting there. You know when you cough but you can't cough? It's like, like your body just spasms. I remember doing that for 2 solid minutes, and then I just burped out some smoke.
Bruh. Poof. I can see that before me. That would look hilarious.
yeah.
All I can think about is the smoke doing a U-turn there.
Like, nope.
I don't see how that's even possible, but it did happen. So yeah.
Imagine if it had passed all the way through and came out as a fart.
Yeah, but like, have you ever done that? Like when you cough but you don't really cough, you just spasm. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's so weird because your body is just in a fight modus. You just focus on staying alive. It's like a limbo.
No, I have not done that. But the first time I smoked Super Silver Haze out of my bong, I have a thing. I have a thing for chocolate milk. Okay, so I had like 1.5 liters of chocolate milk. It was fucking glorious. And then I was gonna take my first hit of Super Silver Haze from my big bong, and I just ripped it like I usually do, and it was way too potent. And I started coughing and coughing and coughing, and eventually, little air bubbles of chocolate milk mucus started bubbling up from my throat. And I'm like, I'm a frog now? What's going on? Like, it's just...
A frog.
I like that you went to the frog.
I felt like a toad that just tilted its head backwards and bubbles of chocolate milk came up.
I just remembered something. Smoking games, right? People have drinking games, like and there's smoking games. What smoking games have you guys played with people? Or alone, for that matter.
Whenever I watch Final Destination, anytime one of the deaths makes me cringe, either because of how horribly animated it was, or because like I felt that, I try to take a really big hit.
I've done something similar. However, I never like took a hit for each time. If it happened one time, I started. And it was like I watched something with a very famous Canadian actor. You're probably gonna know him. And every time I hear the I take a hit. Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah. He's fucking amazing.
Yeah. We have this really popular game where I live. It's called the Indian, like the Native American one. And it's basically like you stand in front of each other with a J. And you hit, you pass it, you hit, you pass it, and you don't blow it out. So basically, you take as many consecutive hits as you can.
Yeah, I played that. You stand in a circle, right?
Yeah, and it's the most fun when you're 2 people because it just goes so fast, and it's basically like mainlining the THC to your brain. It's so fun, but I remember doing that, and I almost puked, and I never puked, but I almost puked out of coughing so hard. Because, your body isn't meant to hold smoke in for like a minute.
Yeah.
But,
I remember when I was playing World of Warcraft, we used to have smoking games all the time. Because I was the raid leader of our guild at the time. And They loved when I read lead when I was high as fuck. I don't know why, because maybe I wasn't as strict as I usually am. That's probably why. So
Leroy Jenkins.
something like that, yeah. Because every time we would die on a boss, they would tell me to take a bong hit, right? And usually it was on bosses we've already killed, so I was like, yeah, okay, I shouldn't have to take that many bong hits, right? But now we're going against a boss that we've never faced before, and they're like, yo, I'm like, what? They're like, you want to do this smoking game now on this boss that we never killed before? I'm like, yeah, fuck it, why not? We're gonna kill it anyway. But we didn't kill it the whole night, so we spent 3 hours on that boss. Best believe I couldn't raid. I was dead, man. I was like slumping over in my chair, drooling. Like, my character name was Licorice, so they were like, "Yo, Lick, what are we gonna do?" I'm like, so we called the raid, and then I went to bed.
Yeah, no, I honestly hate being like, I call it, the drooling face from, Wolf of Wall Street. I hate being like that because,
Yeah.
like, when I lose control of my body, like when I lose feeling in my limbs and can't, move, it's just fucking weird. Because for me, my body doesn't stop working. My brain and my body stops working. Like I'm just in purgatory. It's like I'm basically a vegetable. It's weird. I mean, like,
I know that feeling way too well.
Yeah, and you just laid there for like 2 hours.
I have something I want to bring up actually. I was reminded of this the last episode we did with alcohol versus weed, but I saved it for this episode. Have you guys heard about indica hangovers?
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah, I've kind of gotten one.
Basically, when you go to bed, you smoke a heavy indica. Usually for me, it's usually an Afghani. Usually does the trick, just knocks me the fuck out, right? So I had a nasty Afghani when I'm about to go to bed, and then when you wake up, you still feel it. You feel couch locked when you wake up, so you just have your eyes open, but you can't go up because you're still fucking dead. You're
I've
like,
never
what
had
the
that.
fuck? It's weird. It's like bedlock, but after the fact you've slept. And then you feel like
Bedlock.
sluggish and like almost hungover for like a couple of hours when you wake up.
It's never been that bad for me, but I've definitely felt like I don't know, like a sloth when I wake up after a good night. Yeah, like it's pretty. I didn't even know that was possible until it happened to me, but it mostly happens to me if I take edibles and smoke.
Yeah, I was talking to my friend about it, and I was like, the indica hangover. And he's like, I've never had an indica hangover. I've smoked for 10 years. What are you guys? You're talking shit, man. You're just sensitive, blah, blah, blah. And then a couple of weeks or like a month passed, and he's like, dope. I'm like, yes, I know what the fuck you're talking about with the indica hangover now. It just happened. I'm like, I told you, man. Nobody believes me until it happens.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten like the feeling that I'm locked, but I've gotten the feeling like you get with a normal, very light hangover, like, no, I don't want to go up, and then you go up and take a cup of coffee and you're back on track.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, on the topic of going to bed and smoking, that's probably like, because, smoking in front of your computer or with friends, that's always fun. But I have the best time when I smoke before bed, because it's like, when you lie in a comfy, warm bed, your body doesn't really know where it is, kind of. On weed, of course. At least not for me. So I just float around like a little cloud.
Happy cloud.
Yeah, happy cloud. Yeah. I don't know.
Pink, fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows.
The copyright strike.
Sorry. You can cut that away.
Cease and desist letter.
We'll get subpoenas, all of us now.
Oof.
So Haunted, would you say you're more of a sativa or indica fan, or you don't give a fuck? Maybe.
If it gets me high, I do not give a single fuck.
Hell yeah.
If I have to, the only sativa I have experienced anything bad with, because I do have anxiety, is Super Silver Haze, and then out of nowhere, that was only after I had smoked that one consecutively for like 2 weeks, and that was all I had been smoking.
Yeah.
So I probably just needed to have some CBD or something with that to fix that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Super Silver is a pretty. I would say it's an unpredictable strain. It can do a lot of weird shit.
I feel like most strains with the super in front of it just hits you right where you want it to hit, or just bulldoze you. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like,
Super Sour Diesel.
or super lemon. Oh my lord.
But okay, so if you had to pick between a Haze strain and a Kush, what would you?
Kush.
Haze.
Kush.
I would
Haze.
say a Haze for me. What about you, Haunted?
I would probably say Kush just because I've had more of those already.
Atta girl. Hell yeah.
No, but like Kush, I mean, like I feel like Haze from like the bottom up is a little bit more like it's a bit more constructed. Kush is stained with like Afghan blood and a lot of fucking war. But like Haze,
What?
I feel like it was created in a laboratory.
Are you high right now?
Somewhere.
What the
That
hell is the most
information is
random shit I've ever
classified.
heard?
But seriously, like
I can
Kush
tell
started
he
out
smoked
as
neither
like a
Haze nor
wild
a
strain. Because Kush is actually a place in Afghanistan where they, where that started. Fucking Osama bin Laden hiding out, getting fucking yeeted.
No, man.
Yes. Man.
OG Kush is one of the most staple strains ever,
That
and
made
OG
me
stands
laugh
for
really
ocean,
hard,
bro.
so I'm gonna take another hit.
No, but like, okay, so of course, Kush is a good path, but Haze is like, it's a good path, but it's laid with like golden bricks from the start.
Bruh.
That was
What
the
the fuck
weirdest
are you saying?
comparison
This
I've
is
ever
the weirdest
heard.
podcast ever recorded.
I'm so confused.
I'm
Same.
speaking air right now. Holy fuck.
I just prefer I just prefer the high from Haze more than I prefer the high more than I like the high from Kush. Kush, it's simple as that.
I can attest to those being different. I feel like Haze is lighter on your head, while Kush is heavier. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. I like Kush because it rhymes with Bush.
That's why I like it.
Oh.
It
Jesus
rhymes
Christ.
with Bush.
I'm just done with
That
this.
that Resident Evil 2's got me hooked up with my lady being
Hell yeah.
remastered there.
I can't get enough of that remastered Bush.
Oh, Jesus Christ. The burning bush. That's what that was. That's the original Kush. It was the burning bush. Some real crazy.
Obviously, that's why he was like, guys, I need some stone. I gotta carve this shit right now.
Oh fuck, it's all unraveling in this very podcast. By the way, I've been thinking about something. Because all of the main hosts, me, Svempa, and Dope, we're from Scandinavia. And a thing here in Scandinavia, which is very popular, is called snus. It's this little bag of tobacco you put under your lip, right? And it, your lip absorbs the tobacco. I've been thinking, we need some good old weed snus, right? Like,
Yes.
I would.
But the reason why that'd be difficult is because it would have to either be straight THC or have to be activated with heat to get the THC that does work.
I'll flick a lighter in my lip, no problem. If I get
that is a horrible decision.
Like, we can.
I have a beard. I can't do that.
We can decarb it like you do with edibles.
I mean,
Yeah, true.
But if that's
just
the
adds
case,
to
then
the
you
flavor
could
and
just make
smell.
you could just put like a little bit of tincture on something, or like find a way to make it more like jelly-like or something, and just
The
put that
problem
in
would
your
be-
mouth.
The problem would be that the high is significantly different if you mix it with tobacco, because you get that head rush kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
the
it's
roller
not for
coaster
everyone.
feeling at the start.
Yeah,
at least.
yeah.
Tobacco just gives me headaches.
Wacky tobacco, man.
I kind of have no choice because
My dad heard that stupid song and would not stop playing it for 3 weeks every time I was over there.
that's literally me. I cannot stop playing stupid music. When I discovered Bloodhound Gang, I'm not gonna elaborate on what it is. If you're listening, just get on Spotify and listen to the Bloodhound Gang. They're a pretty unique gang of people, but yeah, no, I remember discovering their music. It's pretty incredible.
You and me, baby. I'm not gonna sing anymore.
Copyright, man. Jesus. Can't you sing copyrighted music?
I freaking love them though.
There's a World of Warcraft remix called Hard Like Heroic. It's better.
I love that song so much.
Yeah, it's good. All right.
I miss
Well-
WoW.
Same sometimes, actually. But I think that's going to do it for today's podcast. And special thanks to Haned for coming on and sharing her story with us. It's been a pleasure as always. And
Super fun.
yeah, this has been the High Again podcast with me, Mr. Lettuce, and Svempa. And
Bye.
remember to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on SoundCloud. We upload every Friday and all that good stuff. So if you don't have anything else, bye.
No, I think we're good. Bye.
Bye.
All right, peace.